the 2020 is a presidential election, and then supposedly there are a lot of people getting ready to run in that. And then if you don't run in that, or if you run in that and lose, and you still want to be president in the United States, then you'd have to wait on to 2024. So those will be the next two presidential elections we're looking at, 2020 and 2024. Now, it's hard to say too much about it. I mean, you've got to go out and try to raise money. That's the main thing. If you're running 2020 for president or whatever you're running for. But if you're running for president, Trump announced in the last couple of days that he has $100 million for the election, presidential in 2020. You know, and it's hard for you to go up to some of your neighbors or your friends on the street, and they want to give you a couple of bucks, and they say, oh, by the way, how much do these other people, how much do they raise? And he said, well, Trump's saying he raised $100 million for 2020. So somebody raised that money 2 years before the election, it'd be almost time for you to say you'll run 2024 instead of 2020, because that 100 million is steep if that's what he has, and he says he has commitments for that, or the money, or I don't know how he does his deal, whether some people just send in a commitment, some people send a check, and
it don't matter how much money you got there. It doesn't mean people's going to vote for you.
Yeah, that's a question. Are people going to vote for you? But then the more money you have to spend on the election, and the more money you can spend for advertising, things like that. And as you remember, it covers the whole country. Like I think the first thing they're going to have is in Iowa, which is a nice ride, and I think they have second something in Connecticut, where the people, the presidential candidates, will be there speaking. And when you're there, you should probably get there a few days earlier so you can go around and meet all the people in that area. But if you're going to run for a nationwide office like that, you have to go meet all the people in all the states. Because I know Clinton a few years ago, I don't think she went to one state figuring that, she had it made there and she didn't have to, and then she ended up losing that state. So unfortunately, even though it's a lot of hard work, I think you have to go and you have to knock on doors, and you have to have a group of people working with you, and they're going out and trying to get votes, because a lot of people in Phoenix and these different cities all over the country, I mean, let's face it, have they heard of you or your name? I doubt it. You have to go meet them, shake hands, things like that. Whatever you do, you have to do it to have contacts with the people, so that when the voting comes, they're going to go there and recognize your name, and they're going to vote for you, whether you're running Democrat or Republican. If they don't know your name, they're not going to vote for you. Now, one thing that's bothered me about this election coming up a little is that all the people that are working for the president have been charged with something. Or a good many of them. I don't say all of them, but most of them, like his lawyer Cohen and these different ones, and Manafort, and and it says they all worked out agreements with the prosecutors. They worked out agreements, and most of them are going to be pleading guilty to a few charges. But I would wonder. Now those agreements can't be changed. If they try to change the agreement from what they agreed to, then the judge can go back and withhold the sentence they agreed to and start over. Like if you have 20 charges and you've had an agreement to agree to plead guilty to 4, that's your agreement, and that'll be in the agreement. And in that agreement, you'll cooperate with Mueller, the prosecutor, and tell them whatever your agreement is, and that's it. I'm wondering though, if all those agreements are on the table, why couldn't some of the people? We only have 140,000 voters in the 140 million voters in the United States out of 300 million people, and I think a lot of them, including me, would like to know what's in some of those agreements, if possible.
That's
Now,
only half the world is voting, half the United States.
we have 300 million people in the
The other
United
half must
States.
all be Jehovah's Witnesses.
140 million
They're probably.
are voters. So those are the people that can vote. Now, whether they will vote, I don't know, but they're taxpayers, 140 million. They're taxpayers. And so those people would like to know something about these agreements that have been signed. Like the one guy signed an agreement, he got 6 days in jail. And then what's in the agreement, we don't know. But the voters on the street would like to know. Now, Trump's come up with this 100 million real quick for this election in 2 years.
Dang.
And supposedly a lot of those people work with Trump, and supposedly they gave information against him, maybe. Like Cohen and things like that. Like Cohen recently switched parties all of a sudden, and he switched to the Democrat. But I don't know, maybe there's nothing in there against Trump. But if there is, we would like to know about it, to know if there's going to be an impeachment process or some kind of criminal charges against him that can be brought. But most of the time you can't bring him while he's in office. But we would like to know that now. So the next question is, how long is Mueller going to work on this case? Is he going to keep working until after the 2020 election and keep all these records that he has, these agreements signed by the people, hidden? Now, I assume the people that signed these agreements, most of them will plead guilty, whatever the agreement is, and so, next first of the year or something like that. But that's another thing that some of these voters, the 140 million, would like to know is, what do they have against Trump, if anything? They might not have nothing. But Mueller's been working on this for a long time. And Mueller and his 15 lawyers have cost us, the taxpayers, millions of dollars. Now, he's had a few guilty pleas or agreements. People were supposed to plead guilty to a couple different things. And part of the agreement, which we haven't seen, I don't know if we'll ever get to see it, the reason the charges were dropped and cut in half and he pled guilty to a couple is because he gave them an agreement and he's going to help them. Now, I assume he's going to help them against Trump, like Cohen. I don't know. I don't know what's in the agreement. But the voters would like to see it. For one thing, if a guy comes up to a voter and says, look, I'm running for president, could you give me $10,000 to help me toward the presidency? And the guy knows that Trump already has 100 million. I mean, 10,000, you might as well throw it in the ocean. But
No.
I'm not saying anything against Trump, but that's an advantage, that 100 million.
I bet you Steve Harvey has that much money.
Now
He could run against him.
So those are the things we're talking about. And then if there's nothing against Trump and none of these charges that these people agreed to in these agreements have anything to do with him as far as impeachment or some kind of criminal activity, then the thing maybe you should do is get ready for 2024. That's the presidency after this one. Trump can't run again after the second one. He can't run for a third.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I think that's historical that has come down. But I don't know. I'd like to know when Mueller will be finished, when all these agreements that Mueller has worked up over this long period of time are going to come out,
I'm telling you.
and let the people, the taxpayers, the 140 million taxpayers, let them know what's in these agreements. That's all. If there's nothing in them, just take a match and burn them. But this thing's been going on and on and on. And all these people work up with guilty pleas on something. Like the one guy pled guilty, he got 6 days. No, he got 8 days.
God.
But anyway, I think this is going to heat up from here on out. After this next election's over in 3 weeks, then we'd have 2 years, until the 2020 presidential, and you're gonna see the paper hit the fire, and it will heat up. Thank you.
I bet you, though, Steve Harvey could beat him. Oprah probably would give the money to Steve
Oprah, I
Harvey. What
think's
you think?
running.
Yeah, Oprah might be running too.
Oprah's running, and that's what I
Kanye
heard.
West.
Who else is running? That other black woman.
Well, I'd like to see Steve Harvey run. I don't know why. I've liked
How
Steve
many
Harvey
we get
forever.
last night?